Regular meeting of the Newnan City Council. You have the minutes of the regular meeting of May the 26th, 2020 before you. I'll entertain a motion we adopt those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. We adopt the minutes as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry, Ray. We'll do that from now on. Sorry. Motion carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda this evening are several appointments to boards and commission. The first one, we've got one appointment to the Newnan Youth Activities Commission. This is a 3-year term. Mr. Correcto.
Next agenda, please.
All right, thank you. The next item, there are 3 appointments to the Convention Center Authority. The first is Mr. Alexander.
I have not heard from my appointee.
All
Put
right.
that on the next agenda, please.
The second is Mr. DeBose.
I'd like to reappoint Parks Avery.
Second.
Motion is second. We reappoint Parks Avery to the Convention Authority Commission, or Convention Authority. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next Convention Center Authority, Ms. Jenkins.
I'll need that on the next agenda.
All right, thank you. The next several are to the Cultural Arts Commission. The first, Mr. Alexander.
Next agenda, sir.
All right, thank you. The next from Cultural Arts Commission, Mr. Gion.
Next agenda, please.
All right. The next Cultural Arts Commission, Ms. Jenkins.
I don't know which one is up, because I didn't get a little thing saying which one of my appointees.
Okay.
Oh, it's next to Justin.
Yvette Jones.
Oh, yeah, she's wanting to serve again.
All right.
Second.
Oh, yeah.
Motion and a second. We reappoint Ms. Yvette Jones to the Cultural Arts Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next Cultural Arts Commission, Mr. Koretko.
Next agenda, please.
Thank you. The next to Cultural Arts Commission, I asked Mr. Shell earlier, and this is on our next agenda. The next 4 are Keep Newnan Beautiful. The first is Mr. Alexander.
I'd like to renominate Mr. Scott Berta.
Second.
Motion and a second. We renominate Scott Berta to the Keep Newnan Beautiful Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next is Mr. DeBose.
Yes, renominate Paul Richardson.
Second.
Motion second. We renominate Paul Richardson to the Keep Newnan Beautiful Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next is Mr. Gion.
I'd like to renominate Lynn Love, who is now Lynn Love Stanier. And
Second.
All right, motion is second. We renominate Lynn Love
Stanier.
Standard. Okay,
I think I'm
to the,
pronouncing it
Keep
correctly,
Newnan
but-
Beautiful Commission. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next, Mr. Koretko.
I'd like to renominate Miss Brenda Jessel.
Second.
Motion is second. We renominate Brenda Jessel to the Keep Newnan Beautiful Commission. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you for getting through those. Do you have anything else tonight, Mr. Phillips?
I don't, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Under my communication this evening, there's a resolution before you under my communication, and I've got just a quick statement that I'll read. I've lost count of the number of times that through the years I've paid tribute to our city employees for their outstanding service to our citizens. Our employees serve in a professional manner, and that it's fitting for the city of Newnan and their citizens. This council is the policy setter, of course, with the responsibility of operation of the city through our management team. Mr. Phillips and his team are guided by our policies when running the city. He is both empowered and limited by those policies and the council's decisions. The current social climate in our nation, state, and city demand a reexamination of our current policies across the entire spectrum of our city government with an emphasis on public safety. The men and women of the Newnan Police Department who serve and protect our community are dedicated and courageous. It is the responsibility of this council to adopt policies that ensure that the Newnan Police Department has access to the latest training and equipment to successfully do their jobs. The safety of all of our citizens is this council's #1 priority. The goal of this resolution would be to seek out and adopt policies and training procedures that will produce the finest, best-trained police department in the state. A police department where the morale is high and the relationship between our community is transparent and engaging. Our citizens deserve the best, and we are in a position to make that a reality. With these thoughts in mind, I'm asking the council's consideration of the resolution that's before you. It calls for the engagement of a third party that will guide us through the process of policy review.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next under new business is a request from the Councilwoman Jenkins to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Coweta County School Board, the Sheriff's Department, the District Attorney's Office, and Judiciary for the purpose of hiring a firm to lead community forums about race, inequality, and justice.
Yes.
Ms. Jenkins.
I brought this to you because one of the things that I've been hearing a lot about is that people want a forum to be able to express themselves. You know, we will have a group that comes in here to express their opinions, but I think that it's broader than a few people. I think that we have an opportunity here to really create a situation where people who have said they want to be heard will be heard. And that we'll have a professional facilitator there that knows how to run these types of things to really get to the heart of issues. And then come back to us with a set of recommendations that then the Citizen Commission that we just established will be able to vet and present to us their findings.
Okay. Any questions, Ms. Jenkins?
There's going to be a cost involved here, and has there been any proposal of how it will be equitable amongst all these entities? And
That's part of the request. That's in the bottom part. The motion would be to engage, to have staff engage the staff members of these entities to come up with that intergovernmental agreement and to hire that group to equitably divide that cost up between all of us so that we can carry this out.
So what you're asking us to do tonight is for not only our staff, but these other governmental entities that you've mentioned here to come back to us with an
That's right.
intergovernmental agreement that we can review and adopt and sign.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is not on.
And that is my motion.
Okay. Glad I could make that for you.
Thank you.
She's made the motion.
second,
Okay, any discussion or questions about where we headed with this?
I have one question. Should we wait until our professional who looks at our policies, see what he says, what changes we need, if we need any changes? That way we can go full force into this if we have any changes.
Well,
I'm not
actually,
against this.
I think it's two different things. I think it's two different things. What we're asking from the previous ordinance is that we have a group come in and help us establish that citizen commission and then go through a detailed process of the current policies we have. This is giving voice and opportunity for people who are in the public, because all real change should involve the public. That piece right there does not give a wide swath or a open forum for people to express themselves. And I think that in this moment, one thing that if we don't hear anything else is that people want to be heard. And that ordinance does not give that place for everybody to be able to say what they got to say.
Oh, I
This
didn't say the policies gives people the voice. What I'm saying is if we have any changes, and then the voice can work off of if we have any changes. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that if we do them at the same time, then by the time this group gets through with their forums, this group may very well all be set up and ready to take on what these people say.
Okay.
So I do have a question though. What's the target date? And is this something we're putting out there? Do we have we're going to start date and by such and such a time frame we possibly will have something in place to
I think that is.
start all this?
I think that is part of the task that staff will have to come up with, because we also have limited meetings during the summer. We only have one meeting in July. School board only has one meeting. I don't think that we could set a timeline without talking to the other parties first, which is what the task is for staff to go out and talk to them.
So there hasn't been any discussion with any of the other parties then?
Actually, I have reached out to members of each of those entities, and they're waiting on us.
The what?
They're waiting on us to engage.
To start it?
That's right.
Mr. DeBose?
Yes, so I just want to, Ms. Jenkins, understand completely that this, right now, we're kind of in a discovery process to discover what each elected official group would like to see work for them. And then,
Yes, this
but the
is.
city is going to be more of the, showing the leader.
That's right.
on
The
this.
city is taking the lead to go ahead and get this conversation started and to go down this road.
So just one last question, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'm finished.
Related to the companies that are listed here right now, and this is obviously was stated as not a comprehensive list or exhausted list. So are there any other companies that can be added to this list for review in addition to the 4?
Yeah, that's just a start. Those are the ones that came up in conversations with people that I went out and looked up, and they all are, for instance, Leadership Atlanta uses one of those vendors, for lack of better, consultants, for their race and equity discussion, which has come with a lot of praise for him. Another is someone who is a professor at the Candler School of Theology at Emory University, who has Fearless Dialogues, which is a well-reputable organization, and one of them is one firm that the city of LaGrange uses.
Okay,
But
so,
the answer
but
is
what
that
my,
no,
that's my
others
question
can be
is,
added.
others can be added, okay.
I understand Councilman Shell has a question.
No, I'm fine. I just didn't have any audio, and that's when I had my hand raised. I've got it working on my iPad now.
Okay, good, thank
I
you.
couldn't hear anything at all, and all of a sudden I've got 2 screens with one sound.
All right, thanks. Okay, any other questions or comments? I've got a motion and a second to approve. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda under new business is consideration of the sale of a 2014 Pierce Firefighter pumper from the Newnan Fire Department. Chief, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mayor, Council?
Good, thank you.
As you're aware, we are have been in the process of updating our fleet. One of the things that Mr. Phillips has tasked me with was to look at our reserve engines to see if we had anything there that we could sell. So we have a reserve 2014 Pierce Freightliner pumper, which is not a very popular truck with our people. It's more of a rural fire truck, and we do have an offer on that for $180,000. That was purchased in 2014 for $259,000. So I'm seeking for you approval, and we'll put those fundings back for future purchases.
All right,
Make
so
that motion.
Second?
motion and second, we approve the request for the sale of 2014 Pierce Freightliner pumper from the Newnan Fire Department. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
The next is a request to obtain council approval and/or other directions for delinquent property tax write-offs for the year 2008 through 2014. You've got this on your agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion and second. We approve the request as presented. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next is are 2 resolutions nominating myself for the MEAG Board. I intend to run again this year. The election is next month. And confirming our delegate and alternate resolutions before you. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Motion is second. We adopt both resolutions as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next item is for information only, no action needed. This is a rezoning request, RZ 2020-2, Inline Communities LLC for 22.007 acres located on McBride Street and at 90 and 92 Sprayberry Road, tax parcels N58-001-002 and N36-014, N36-015. This is for information only. It's passed on to the Planning Commission for their consideration. Next item on the agenda today under public hearing, this is an application for alcohol beverage license. This is the Racetrack Petroleum, Inc., the new store that's opening up on Bullsboro Crossing, Newnan Crossing Boulevard, 2901. This is for off-premise sales of malt beverages, beer and wine. Is there a representative here? This is a public hearing on this issue. You are a representative of Racetrack. Thank you. We appreciate that. When are you opening?
I believe end of July, early August.
Okay. Thank you for being here this evening. Does anyone else want to comment on this application for alcohol license? This is public hearing. We'll close the public hearing at this time and ask Ms. Della if everything is in order. It is, so I'll ask for a motion on the issue.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, we approve the issue as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carried. The next item on the agenda is a consideration of a contract award for concrete pipe rehab at C.J. Smith Park 2020 to Ronnie Jones, Inc. We have this contract award and recommendation before you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve as presented. Any discussion?
I do have a question.
All right.
At what point are we, is this part of the park redevelopment project?
Yes, Councilmember Jenkins, that is step one. As you recall, we earlier hired a design build firm, New South Construction, to lead us through the rehabilitation of the park. Got a little slowed down with the COVID, obviously. We're probably getting close to what would be considered a 50%, close to a 50% design set. So we will be bringing some information to council. August is our target date to bring some information to you, showing that design and the price estimates that we have. I'd be happy to go ahead, though, and get you all an update on where it is into the design process, if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be helpful. And I'm going to ask, because I've been asking, does this include improvements to, or the items that were in the Farmer Street Cemetery?
It provides connectivity to this Farmer Street Cemetery. It does not address the list I think that you may be referring to, which was a list adopted by this body 15, 18 years ago. So that, I would highly suggest that would be a separate topic of conversation.
Second question I just have, does that conflict with the Bridging the Gaps request for the lunches over the same period?
No, it does not.
Okay, different location in the park?
That's later in the agenda, but we will certainly be able to accommodate their request.
Okay.
Now, they won't be able to go much later than that. If you approve that construction contract, then the entire park, including the parking lot where they set up, would be under construction.
Okay, and it's not going to be like a lay-down yard or anything over there? where they
Not
won't
at
do
this,
it?
not at this particular time.
Okay.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments on this particular agenda item? All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next page, still under unfinished business, actually, we're moving into. This is the second and final reading of the rezoning request for RZ 2020-01 Fourth Quarter Properties 93 LLC for 8.44 acres located on Newnan Crossing Bypass, parcel number 08750430044 from CCS to MDX, or MXD, I'm sorry. This is the second and final reading. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second, we grant the request and second, or adopt the ordinance and the rezoning on the second and final reading. Any discussion?
Just a quick question. The last meeting, we hadn't heard back from the school board. Was there any reply from the school board regarding the impact? Do we know?
No, I don't think we received a response on that particular application.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. I'll call the question. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Nay.
Okay, motion carried. The next is consideration of a consent agreement providing a time extension for the appointment of an arbitration board for an annexation dispute related to annexation 2020-01 for 65.77 acres located on Parks Road. This has been in your agenda. Are there any questions of staff? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Phillips is up to explain.
Just in case there's any questions, because that's, I think, the first time we've had this process, so if there's no questions.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, we grant the consent agreement for the extension of time for the appointment of an arbitration board on this particular item. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. That's a good catch. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a request from First Baptist. This is under visitors. Request from First Baptist Church to close Madison Street on June the 26th for a mobile food pantry.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second, we grant the request. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next is College Temple Neighborhood request to close Wesley Street between Jackson Street and College Street on July the 4th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Is there a motion on the
So moved.
request?
Second.
Motion and a second, we grant the request as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next is a request from Bridging the Gap to utilize the parking lot at C.J. Smith Park to distribute lunches to children on Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., beginning on June 19th through August the 5th.
So moved.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Motion and second, we grant the request to Bridging the Gap. Is there any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next item on the agenda this evening and the final item on the agenda this evening are comments from Stacey Bristow. Ms. Bristow,
Yes, sir.
how are you this evening?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. I think when we talked and you wanted to be on this agenda, I mentioned to you that you would have a limited amount of time. If you'll recall, I said 3 to 5 minutes. So if you want to take up 5 minutes, whatever you want to do, but if you've got other speakers,
We do.
you'll need to slice and dice.
Okay.
So your outer limit is 5 minutes.
Okay,
So
well,
however you need to proceed.
we'll do it in 5.
Thank you. Appreciate you
Okay.
being here.
Thank you.
Okay?
Greetings, Mayor Brady, Councilman Young. My name is Stacey Bristow.
We've got some feedback, major feedback on something. I don't know.
Too many devices in the room, which caused it. So
I
we'll
have
try to.
I'm not technical enough to understand how that happens. But, okay, let's try again. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
Greetings, Mayor Brady, council and guests. My name is Stacey Bristow. I am a resident of Newnan, Georgia. We, the community, are deep in conversations in the movement to eradicate systemic racism and police brutality. When any part of American family does not feel like it's being treated fairly, that's the problem for all of us. We are rising up and demanding change now. In light of recent events that have exposed brutality, traumas, and murders committed against African American men, women, and youth by the hands of law enforcement, historically, it is imperative that we, the community, address City Council about these behaviors, the abuse of police authority, and the bred culture of systemic racism that permeates our society at all levels must be dismantled. Systemic racism is a global pandemic. Conversations need to start somewhere, and that's why we're here this evening. To have a conversation about the importance of public safety and policing. Trust between law enforcement agencies and the police, and the people they protect and serve is essential in a democracy. It is the main adhesive to community stability, integrity of our criminal justice system, and safe and effective delivery of policing services. Over the past 2 weeks, we have gathered in front of the historic Newnan Courthouse each day at 6 p.m. to protest police brutality, highlight lived experiences, concerns, and suggestions centered around positive engagement with Black and brown communities who disproportionately impacted by police violence. This task force, Citizens for Positive Reform, examines ways of fostering strong, collaborative relationships between local law enforcement and the communities they protect, and to make recommendations to the respective entities on ways policing practices can promote effective crime reduction while building trust. On June 30th, 2019, Nicholas Bolton, age 34 at the time, was asleep in his vehicle. He was aggressively approached and identified as a suspect for loitering, which resulted in an unarmed civilian being shot in the face. This incident was later deemed justifiable, yet the outcry of our injustice is heard throughout the communities that view the same body cam. The integrity of the GBI is questionable. Our recommendations and demands are as follows: racial profiling and trauma training. Racial trauma is real. It occurs every day. The term racial trauma or race-based traumatic stress is the cumulative effects of racism directly or indirectly on an individual's mental and physical health. Racial profiling is a public health and health disparity issue. It is the unconstitutional practice of law enforcement targeting individuals for suspicion of crime based on the individual's race, ethnicity, religion, or national origin. This practice remains egregious and is a common form of discrimination that continues to taint the legitimacy of policing in the community. This long-standing and deeply troubling national problem has taken root in our city, and it is not welcome here. Racial profiling is much more than a hassle, inconvenience, or annoyance. Those who experience profiling pay the price emotionally, physically, mentally, and in some cases, even financially, physically, and by extension, socially. It is imperative for law enforcement officers to understand the outcomes of racial profiling and its effects on public health. Training will promote understanding and respect for racial and cultural differences and the use of effective non-combative methods for carrying out law enforcement duties in a racial and culturally diverse environment. Cultural sensitivity, diversity, and training. Because of the nature of the power law enforcement officers possess, it becomes critical they understand the changing community and the racial and ethnic challenges that compounds it. The concern for understanding the importance of a multicultural society and the role police play is not new. In fact, negative attitudes by police officers regarding race and culture was noted by police researchers in the early 1900s. These attitudes are more pronounced globally today, and sadly, some of Newnan's law enforcement personnel exhibit these same behaviors. They too have been described as concrete, over-aggressive, condescending, matter-of-fact, and impersonal. They should acknowledge the importance of due process. Communication is a critical part of policing. Research in the United States has shown that more than 90% of police work is one-on-one communication, and the ability to communicate with all citizens in our communities is critical to successful policing. Cultural sensitivity and diversity training should be offered by a certified person of color, and the content should include, but not be limited to, demographics and psychographics, personal value systems, historical perspectives, and how people may react to police. It is important to remember that the civil rights movement was only a short 60 years past, and many people, particularly African Americans, still remember the reactions by police during the demonstrations in the South. The system of justice in the United States is based on English common law, with individual rights and responsibilities being vital to its success. It's important to acknowledge that our communities consist of not only natives to the United States, but also immigrants whose justice systems do not resemble ours. Understanding the context of communication and the role that it plays in human interaction, as well as value systems of different cultures, will enable law enforcement officers to be more effective and more efficient when dealing with the public. Culturally diverse communities are a fact of life. Achieving diversity in entry-level recruitment is important, but achieving systemic and comprehensive diversification at every level of the department is the larger mandate. To minimize racial, ethnic, and gender biases with Newnan Police Department, the department must create a workforce that encompasses a broad range of diversity including race, gender, language, life experiences, education, and cultural background, to improve understanding and effectiveness in engaging all communities. It should be noted that policing data is not listed on Newnan's Police Department website, nor any other reporting tools. Therefore, based on data obtained from citysdata.com, there are roughly 81 police officers employed by the department and 85 police patrol cars. Although police demographics data was not accessible to us, we do know that our city is 28.6% Black and 12.2% Hispanic. Therefore, the demographics within Newnan Police Department should reflect that of the city. Unfocused diversity management will not achieve the desired benefits of a multicultural police force. Newnan Police Department must intentionally set and pursue diversity goals. Thank you.
Ms. Bristol, thank you for being here. I was not going to interrupt you, but you've used all of your 5-minute time, so we appreciate you being here this evening. If you'll leave us your comments, you weren't here when we, earlier in the agenda, adopted a resolution that is going to take us through the process that you just talked about. But if you'll ask the people who were here in the room, I think we've made a good first step tonight to go through that process. So we appreciate you being here, and if you'll leave your, like I said, if you'll leave your comments, we'll take them under advisement. That ends our regular agenda for the evening. Mayor Pro Tem Alexander will take us into an executive session for real estate.
Yes, sir. I move that we now enter into closed session as allowed by OCGA 50-14-4 and pursuant to advice by the city attorney for the purpose of discussing real estate, and that we, in open session, adopt a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor or presiding officer to execute an affidavit in compliance with OCGA 50-14-4, and that the body ratify the actions of the council taken in closed session and confirm that the subject matters of the closed session were within exceptions permitted by the open meetings law.
Is there a second? Motion is second. We move into executive session for real estate. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. We're in executive session.